Thank you, Bethany. Hey, everybody. Very excited to see you guys. I'm Ollie Chandhok. I'm president and publisher at the Dallas Business Journal. I did not wear the purple tie today because I know that's my bio picture. I've done it before. Super excited to be hosting two panels. First up, we're going to talk innovation and entrepreneurship with two academic leaders across the state here. We have Pete O'Neill and Jeremy Vickers. I'm going to sort of pass it on to you guys to give a brief introduction. I'd love to hear a little bit about your role, but also how you got to the position that you're in. Jeremy, you want to lead us off?
Yeah, age before beauty, is that what we're looking at there? Okay, I'll take it. Hey, everybody. Jeremy Vickers, Baylor University. And to clarify, because this comes up all the time, Baylor University in Waco, not Baylor College of Medicine. That comes on a bit. I get an email a day. I should take credit for it, but then we'll get his roots. Yeah. I had the distinct honor of working at the university at Baylor that I went to, recent Tier 1 institution that I think we all saw recently, about 2 weeks ago. We now have 16 Tier 1s in the state of Texas, which we should be proud of. They're the leading state in the country, something is very important. DFW, I think, having the highest concentration. So I IMB a few areas in university innovation and economic development, which Pete and I will joke probably just be the sexy stuff. Everybody else does the boring things. We get to do the really fun stuff. And by that I mean intellectual property, patents, processes, and policies, guys. That stuff is fun. So no, we manage the intellectual property for the university, but the fun stuff is that I had the opportunity to work with a group of folks to build an innovation ecosystem and support culture of innovation to increase startup activity and spit-out activity across the campus and in our local Waco. So that is something hopefully we'll talk about as we move on. But in terms of background, I think the bio said it. Grew up here at DFW professionally, spent almost 15 years in the area. Love Dallas-Fort Worth. Visit. It's a great place. It's great to be back. Had the honor of working in the innovation ecosystem quite a bit, probably worked with some of you. Was a co-founder of an organization called the Dallas Entrepreneur Center, what is now called the DEC Network, which has 10 to 12 locations across DFW, depending on the day of the week. Actually had our co-founder, Trey Bowles, down in Waco last night. Was hosting him to talk about ecosystems. And also served as vice president for innovation at the Dallas Chamber. And in that role, had the opportunity to work with many organizations like yours to invest in building a stronger ecosystem. Everything from helping to form an organization called the Texas Research Alliance, the Dallas Entrepreneur Center, as well as to work with D Magazine, sorry I won't say it, to help launch Dallas Innovates about 10 years ago. So it was a great opportunity, but then I went to the dark side, higher education. Got to go to a great university in UT Dallas, led their entrepreneurship program, and ran their innovation ecosystem effort. So before coming back to work, that's my shortcut.
I won't hold the D Magazine thing against you. The DEC is a big deal. It has been a big deal for many years. I'm good friends with Trey Bowles as well. He's sort of had some influence at Fort Worth now too, Techstars. So really cool to hear that, Jeremy. Pete, give us a little bit of background as to, and specifically your role currently.
Sure. I first want to thank the Y Texas team. I think the work that they do on behalf of convening, coordinating across Texas is really impressive and important. I also want to thank all of you. I think a group like Y Texas on its own, it's okay, but I think it takes all of us, it takes a village, and so thank you for being here. So I'm Pete O'Neill, the Chief Innovation Officer for Texas A&M University system, so the full system, which means my team manages all the intellectual property for Texas A&M. That includes the intellectual property that derives from $1.3 billion a year of sponsored work, and also in our increasingly expanded definition of intellectual property, when you hear about $200 million Space Institute being built outside NASA Johnson, that should lead to collaborations where Texas A&M contribute to intellectual property, know-how, and expertise, in addition to our more than $1 billion invested at our Rutledge campus. And so all of that is opportunity. And I think to be a good collaborator requires joy when who you're collaborating with succeeds. And so that also means that there should be something in it for us. But I think that is why I'm so pleased to be part of something that thinks about collaboration across the entire state. It happened to be.
And Pete, I'm going to stay with you here. I did a little bit of stalking. I looked at your LinkedIn and it dug up some stuff, really cool stuff, actually. You've worked some big corporate roles, all focused on innovation, healthcare, aerospace. Talk to me about how those experiences have helped shape your sort of your current goal today.
So probably the most relevant is before I came here was the head of innovation for Cleveland Clinic organization. I don't know how many people here know about Cleveland Clinic, but it's U.S. News World Record. You've been Newsweek, always ranked in the top 5 hospital systems in the country, in the world. A couple of thoughts how it informs my work. One is Cleveland Clinic has a very well-known brand for being innovative. That is the amount of that comes from the way they tell their story versus their results. I'm not saying they're just good storytellers, because there are good results there, but they're not nearly as impactful as their regular otherwise ideas. And so that is the work that we're doing at Texas A&M. Of course we are driving results from it. Of course we track metrics. And of course collaboration is needed to real benefits on both sides, but significant part of it needs to be telling a story. Tree falls in the forest and nobody's there, doesn't make a sounder. I mean, if you do something impactful, you don't tell a story, does anybody know? The world knows MIT and Stanford as beacons of being entrepreneurial. I would also suggest that they are not nearly as internally successful as their overall, the aura around those places. I personally believe, I'm not an Aggie, I've been there for 2 years. I believe Texas A&M has every bit of the potential to be impactful with any institution, any.
Yeah, no, Pete, I want to stay with you. You sort of, you're talking about impact, and it sounds to me like be at an academic institution specifically, away from some of the big corporate, allows you to be more agile. Is that necessarily the case?
Yeah, anybody that suggests big academic is agile, those are 2 words that are not often put together. I do think that is part of our job, right? We talked a little bit about it. I think to be a good collaborator in our role, I think of us significantly as a gateway, as a connector between all of those amazing assets I talk about, all the billions of dollars that the state of Texas and the federal government and other sponsors have contributed to A&M having assets to be impactful, as a facilitator to people in the outside world. It's not maybe the prettiest word, but to exploit that. I mean, that is what a collaboration looks like, is using that for your benefit, and that's aligned with our reason for having those things.
Yeah, thank you, Pete. Jeremy, you shared your background with us, obviously time at the chamber, incubators like DEC. Talk to me about how those experiences, and you've started up businesses of your own. Share how those experiences shape your current role and how you can sort of advise students.
Oh, absolutely. I love innovation ecosystem, and one of the things that I love about them is you can't quite put your finger on, right? What you see are typically a 20-year look back, right? We all point to Silicon Valley or Boston or some of the big cities, but Dallas-Fort Worth is or North Texas rather, is in this kind of 20-year history, probably. And 20 years ago, the leaders of our community here built infrastructure assets that we need tier ones, right? We're going to attract top talent. And today we have those species. So when you're able to see and study and participate a little bit in very small pieces of that, you get to see the good, bad, and ugly. You learn a lot. We were talking last night about starting the deck. We failed more than we succeeded, but at the end of the day, we had some successes and we told a really good story. As Pete was saying, someone's got to tell that story. Storytelling is as crucial to innovation ecosystems and entrepreneurship as any other thing. In Texas, we say you got to have sizzle and steak. And if you don't have any steak, you don't sizzle, right? But if you have steak it's not to talk about, nobody hears about it, they're not going to want it. And so we put a lot of effort into helping people tell their stories. And that's a key takeaway that I've taken back to Waco is our folks there, they're early stage, they're younger, they're smaller, they don't have the networks of large cities, large institutions. So you've got to network, you've got to build relationships, you got to tell your story. So I think that's number one. The second is you've got to fail fast, make quick decisions, and don't follow with your own ideas. That is a common trend we see in innovators. They follow with their ideas. We see that in our research enterprises all the time. And it's not the first idea or first breakthrough that typically makes the difference. It's the iterative, it's the ongoing, and it's the continuing along that battle with it that we encourage folks to do.
Jeremy, for both of you, actually, describe the innovation infrastructure, I'll call it, at your university. What happens in the day-to-day? How do you work with these entrepreneurs?
Yeah, and goodness gracious, I'm sure you guys had a lot more than we do. We're a little bit smaller. A lot of the infrastructure that you see at a university kind of exists in 2 or 3 main areas, right? You've got your research infrastructure, your scientists, your research labs, and your research grad students that are generating new knowledge. And it's one of the most exciting things in the world, but it's the slowest germinating innovation you'll ever see in your life. The beauty is I get to see it on the back end. I don't have to see it on the front end, whether applying for the grants and going after it. But those labs, walking through there, talking to grad students, encouraging them, take those ideas and share them with the world through our various processes, it's just a really exciting, fun way to see where innovation at Berkeley is. The second is our students. Undergraduate students, 18 to 22-year-old students, the world hasn't hit them quite in the face like they have most of us. So they have this beautiful naivety about what's possible, and I love it because I love to encourage it. But the role we get to play is encourage, filter, mentor, let them try, and then give them a safe place to try. I tell people all the time, a university is a place where you could start a company and save a mortgage at marriage, because 20 years from now you can't, and we want to encourage you to try it while you're. So those are 2 of the barriers. And the third, and this is so important for this conversation today, is the business community and their interactions back and forth and in between with institutions of higher education, collaborating across whether research, various faculty and teaching, and helping entrepreneurs, whether directly by taking out new ideas, mentoring students, or even licensing technology. Such an important goal.
Pete, same idea. Share a little bit about the infrastructure at A&M and how you're working day to day with the students.
I manage a team of 26 people. It's not enough. I have strong support from our chancellor and our board of regents to grow that team, to invest in us. We heard Bob and ADA mention Kendall Square. It is the 30-year journey to get it there. These things don't happen overnight. I mean, there are occasionally it takes a long view on things, and I'm pleased and how to be working for an organization that has all visionary leaders, our cancer sharp, our regents. The work that we do is a blend of faculty and student focused. My office is actually a little on the faculty side. They're really the originators of electrosocracy. On the other hand, if you think about what causes the elevation of a brand, and what is the benefit of that, significantly on the student side, how does a place attract that 14-year-old, the compelling entrepreneur? I met somebody last night, their son is a 14-year-old out doing pressure washing all over the place, and so that he can go buy a car and go do X, Y, Z other thing. That's an entrepreneur. That person is going to choose where to go to school. And, Stanford, it's like talk about football. I love football class. Football is a lot about recruiting and coaching, right? And you aren't interested. So how do you recruit entrepreneurs? You have to have that board. In Stanford, people go to Stanford because they don't even know why. They know it's entrepreneur, because that's where the entrepreneur is at. I mean, you like to have those kinds of people, at least with A&M on their list. Let's say we take Stanford off, but A&M should be on their list.
So let's talk about the recruiting piece, right? You have students that come to the university, either one, both, and how do you attract them into the programs? How do you get them involved in entrepreneurship, innovation? Why would somebody want to pursue that as a career or a path, a career set?
I think entrepreneurs are like insects to light, are attracted by opportunity. You know, today, Silicon Valley feels like if you're raising money, you need to be in Silicon Valley. And that's not wrong. I mean, the rest of the world, just about, it's Silicon Valley, Boston. If you're an IPO, it's New York City. Everywhere else in the country is so far behind those places that we're all aspiring to be those. And so I think part of it is really, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of brute force to really create environments where opportunity is available. And if there's real opportunities, that comes from business ideas to investor side of things, support networks. We need to grow all of that, and it's a lot of work, but we're doing it. It's coming.
Well, I'll echo that. It's really great entrepreneurial students come to our institutions inherently, right? Regardless, UT Arlington, UT Dallas, University of Dallas, A&M Baylor. That's the beauty. Entrepreneurship is very cultural. I think we see that this generation. And I think it spreads across a lot of boundaries. One of the biggest challenges is finding. That's actually what I struggle here. We have really great faculty. We don't want our faculty to leave those amazing labs and stop researching. We want to get their grad students, ones who said, you know what, I don't want to be a lab scientist for the next 20 years. Or maybe undergrad, who kind of likes the field but is sort of unsure where they want to go next. And so we are focused on finding the people, the talent, and giving them opportunities. I think that's something you need to say. A lot of those opportunities are programmatic. That's just the nature of the beast. We offer it structurally through accelerator, incubators, and pitch competitions. I'm a big believer in sort of the funnel approach. We throw a lot of stuff into the top of the funnel, and if you don't have a lot of stuff in the top of the funnel, you'll never get to a wide bottom of the funnel. And entrepreneurship has the highest failure rate of almost any activity. And so, well, obviously, you got to put a lot of stuff in at the top, but then you got to sort of work them through. And so once we find the ones that are interested, we start putting mentors, smart people from the outside, you all, business leaders, come wrap around, love these guys and gals, and help them launch for businesses.
Guys, at risk of getting in the weeds here, I got to ask this. So as part of your curriculum, is there some education as to how to access funding, access capital, venture capital, PE, all of those things? And describe it if there is, I'm sure there is, but describe sort of that part of the education.
Yeah, you know what every parent wants is a kid with an entrepreneurship degree, right? Anybody here want to send their kid to get a bachelor's in entrepreneurship? No. So we actually have and so does A&M, a phenomenal entrepreneurship undergraduate program. And in those courses, we do teach students new venture finance. But a lot of it really happens at the coaching level, where we walk them through, we assess and understand, hey, this is a venture type deal, this is an angel type deal, this is a bankable deal, this is a minor deal. We have an angel network at Baylor, about 100 angels. We do $4 or $5 million a year worth of deals. And we engage a lot of our students on both sides of it. One, pitching and having opportunities to get funded. We also use 20 or 30 of them each year to be the analysts, so they can learn what it takes to do due diligence and understand angel and venture deals. So literally, it's going through the process, doing the heavy work, modeling out the finances, the not sexy stuff that folks need to learn how to do. So it's really fundamental at that level, but really a lot of it happens at the venture market.
To follow that, I think being an entrepreneur is a thing that you cannot learn by in a class. I think lots of people who look like they're just natural entrepreneurs are probably grown up in a household where they have some other example that they've seen it. It doesn't scare them. It's not a mystery to them. I really think being an entrepreneur, you have to go do it. I was at Cleveland Clinic. I was the head of a company, but I was still pulling a paycheck for the people there. I quit the Cleveland Clinic to be CEO of this company. I put my personal finances into that company. Our company was within 3 weeks of having no more money. That is an entirely different kind of experience that you cannot simulate without having. And that's just one little example, all the things of what it means to be an entrepreneur. Jerry mentioned it. faculty are wicked smart. You could claim that they're the world leader on their research. Smart doesn't mean that you're good at everything. And actually, that's a lack of wisdom if you have that perspective. So being entrepreneurial is a thing. There are people whose their entire career is being entrepreneurial, and they're still getting better at it. And so from my experience, you just have to go do it, fail fast, do it early. A lot easier to do it when if you can sleep on your buddy's couch versus you've got kids that are approaching college, and you got a mortgage and a spouse, and when something bad happens in your company, it feels like your life is crumbling. Your life is already sleeping on your buddy's couch. How far now you go?
I want to add to that. I want to contradict something both he and I have already said. But what I mean to do is to sort of value add. We think it's great, and we do a lot of support for early stage entrepreneurs that are younger. At the end of the day, the average entrepreneur is public fully. The average person who's starting a business has credit, they have capital, and they have career. The 3 C's that help them actually be successful. They're typically a subject matter expert. And so while we want our early stage entrepreneurs to have that young energy and that passion, often they're starting as a side gig, right? They're still getting a paycheck from an organization. I started 5 businesses in 5 years. It was a personal goal to 35 to 40 that I wanted to do. I won't mention how many of them are still around, but a couple of them aren't. I'm still paying for a couple too. That's a separate conversation. But I couldn't do it properly financially at my life until I was at a point where I could justify that. I had capital, I had the network, I had credit. And I say that because we contradict ourselves, and Silicon Valley makes this picture of the 22-year-old computer scientist, and that's great. But for most of us in our everyday life, the average entrepreneur in Dallas, Waco, College Station, he or she's probably 35 or 40. And they've got a different, ability to start. See, we're looking for that.
So SEC, Big 12, used to compete in the Big 12, right, years ago. In the world of innovation, you would prefer to collaborate. You were talking about this, Pete, earlier. Talk to me about the benefits of collaboration across universities, across regions, cities. How could an entrepreneur benefit from you guys collaborating together?
So why collaborate? I live in College Station. Texas A&M, largest university in the United States. There's only way up there, 75,000 students. It's a neat city, but a world-class entrepreneur is not like didn't move to College Station because if something goes bad with the company, then they're going to have to move again. And so, but on the other hand, A&M can bring certain assets because of the strengths that we have. Somebody said it earlier. Everybody's after there. Everybody's at their strength, and so I'm going to do a little puck. So when you think about building ecosystems, it is people contributing. We are right now embarking on building on the space ecosystem that already exists here. I don't say want to build it because it's already so vibrant in Texas. Many of you may have heard about Plug and Play. We are launching a Plug and Play office in Orion College Station. We are branding it. We have branded it the Innovation Triangle, specifically to represent and send the signal that this is not just about Orion College Station. This is about the Texas Triangle coming together to each of you think about how you need to benefit from that ecosystem. Rising tide lifts all ships. We need to be willing to celebrate when other people's ships go up. Texas A&M, we will take care of our own ships, but we're going to be significantly part of building an ecosystem around aerospace and defense with Plug and Play for everybody's met. And so please, let's go to Bug. April 22nd, Kyle Field will be the launch of that. You have interest in aerospace defense innovation, it's free to attend, no obligation. Track me down or I'll sit in and
Real small venue, huh?
Kyle Field's a deep place, yes.
Well, I'll go back to the Big 12 SEC thing. We did actually play the Big 12. We did beat Baylor was horrible. That's a separate conversation. I think similarly, we Baylor know that we actually need to collaborate to succeed. We're small. We're 21,000 students. We're $50 million in research, $75 million in research versus roughly $1 billion. And similarly with our, the geographic location, we're dead center between Dallas, Fort Worth, and Austin. And geographically, that's phenomenal. And our economic development meter will say, we're in a great position. And I go, we're actually not. Because you would just go into Dallas or Austin. You wouldn't just stop in Waco. But that means we've got to go, right? And so collaboration sometimes means stepping out of your comfort zone and bringing your brand, your capability, come to the table with what you can be good at, and go find others to see if there's a 1 + 1 = 3. And that's something that we know we have to do, not only in our geographic regions, but also as a university. There are things universities should do or should do. And as we talk about entrepreneurship earlier, I think universities should help entrepreneurs. I don't know that they should grow and scale entrepreneurs. That's something a market and ecosystem should. And at the end of the day, they're probably not going to grow at scale in Waco, Texas. So we can get them started. Maybe we can keep them in our city, or maybe we keep them in Texas, and that still benefits us and benefits the Texas tribe.
Yeah, now, Jeremy, a lot of your time is spent on economic development. I'm curious to know, how does your innovation effort impact economic development? And you pick a region, Dallas, Fort Worth, whatever it may be. Are you part of those conversations for corporate relocation, for workforce, all of those sort of things? And how can you drive that?
I try really hard not to be. I'll be really honest, I'm not just So, a place like Waco, we're going to be really strong in supply chain, logistics, manufacturing, distribution, because we are in the middle of all of those things, but we don't have the talent infrastructure for a lot of what we traditionally call professional or white-collar jobs, right? So the role that I typically involved in is attracting them relative to a university that has research capacity and has talent that can support some of their entry-level needs. That's where we tend to play a lot of work and a lot of role in defining that. On the innovation side, it's less so on traditional attraction, and it's more on how are we helping local entrepreneurs. Waco, Texas, 140, 150,000 people. About 20,000 Baylor alumni actually live in Waco, Texas. Every day I run into an alum who is an entrepreneur. And so those are folks that could be 25 or 65 that have chosen to stay in our local community and contribute to the economic vitality. That's where a lot of that innovation and economic development comes into play. It's connecting those dots, having those folks come back, engage, and contribute, and help the next generation of entrepreneurs and finding a way to keep them in our community or the Texas tribe.
So guys, for both of you, I'd love to hear a success story in a minute. Before that, I'm curious to know, business community folks sitting here in North Texas, how do we benefit from your efforts? How do we connect with you? How do we interact? What sort of relationship do we have with your organizations?
Somebody jumped in on that one. Bruce there are our phones. At the end of the day, we want to be a resource. That is the role of an institution of higher education. Could be talent, could be research, could be professional education, could be a safe test environment if you need to test a product or service. And Pete, you said this really well. I think our role is research for resource navigators. Working through a university is a complex matrix organization that is very, very hard to navigate. So we spend a lot of our times working with the business community that may have a need and saying, hey, could we solve that for you? Let us go help find someone that can. If we can't, we're going to be honest with you, but maybe we can. Sometimes it's just you need talent, and we want to be a talent resource for it. But at the end of the day, what we want to do is to be a resource. And I think that's why our institutions exist. While we're private, we don't have that traditional sort of state or economic development responsibility. We are still a Texas university. I won't say, look, we were the first university in Texas, 1845. Just throw that out there. But we care about Texas. Our alumni care about Texas, and we want to help Texas innovate.
Our work is a buy-sell transaction. We live on the sell side. If you only live on the sell side, it's really hard to know what it takes to get to yes on the buy side. And I think that is a massive blind spot for most university commercialization offices. So we try to solve for that with advisors and mentors, and yes, we have lots of Aggie alumni also who are passionate and want to be helpful. But it also includes every part of community ecosystem, whatever word you want to use, helping bring forward what successful opportunities look. I say we're we're not for profit doesn't mean we're a charity. So when you think about a collaboration, it doesn't mean we're there to give away things. It needs to look like it makes sense to both sides. I think that's incumbent on us as well. We can look like a big gorilla, and so I think it's important for us to be respectful to what it takes for smaller entities, which is basically everybody, smaller entities to be successful. But the more somebody really lives on or understands the buy side of the kind of transactions we want to do, you want to work.
Awesome. And guys, last thing I have, I'm getting the 2-minute signal here. I got that signal 2 minutes ago. Last thing I have, success story. I'd love to hear an outcome that you're willing to share of somebody that has thrived in your organization and sort of moving on and doing great things. I tried to tee you up there.
I got one. So we're doing an event next week in Houston around the barbecue that leads into the rodeo. So there's a company called True Shrimp. It's significantly a spin out of Texas A&M that started as a company based on indoor farming of shrimp and technology around how to do that with the potential of achieving scale of that, of indoor farming and shrimp. Just talked to these guys last week. In a really interesting sort of business evolution story, they're still pursuing their product as being shrimp that you would buy and eat. However, they've learned that the chitosan that is contained in the shrimp shells and all the other kinds of molting and stuff, that previously was a byproduct. Because their shrimp are raised in a completely controlled environment, it's known exactly what's going into these things, that the chitosan that's in those shrimp shells is incredibly high quality, medical grade stuff. It's actually more valuable than the freaking shrimp meat that they make. So this is some version of people buying geese and figuring out that they lay golden eggs and waking up one morning and it's like, I need to be in the golden egg business, not the goose meat business. And so it's a really neat story. It really is another element of, being entrepreneurial. You can't whipsaw around finding, following shiny things all the time. But you also can't be so stubborn about what you know that you're lying to other opportunities.
I love that. Although I have definitely allergic to shrimp, so that's all. So we are, I would say, maybe 5 to 7 years in our overall research journey in the spitting out of technology. So we don't have wins like that yet, but we do in, I think, just general entrepreneurship. I will not personally take credit for Chip and Joanna gains, but I'm willing to. But no, what they have created as entrepreneurs is they've actually helped 2 or 3 other brands emerge that have spun out of our institution. One really, really great brand that's about 11, 12 years old now is called Sedero. It's just kind of a Western brand that's phenomenal. And then they've actually helped, and he's mentoring. So he was mentored by them, and he's now mentoring a young guy with another brand called Hondo Hat Company that just got signed and is in 25 Cavenders in the state of Texas. He just graduated with his undergrad, is getting his JD now. And I tried to talk about it in law school. We're lawyers in this world. We need more entrepreneurs. So it's fun to see how those sort of multi-generational support systems can kind of breed more opportunities. Well, guys, thank you very much for the time. Really, really enjoyed the conversation. Folks, let's give them a round of applause.